For Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, the conflict behind the government shutdown is personal. Typically a MAGA loyalist, she's broken with the GOP over concerns that her children's health care premiums will double next year.
2 out of the 3 have aged out of being on my insurance. And so you're seeing me being a mom who's frankly really pissed off at a lot of the failures that I think come from decades of both parties.
She's getting at the core point Democrats have been making. ACA marketplace subsidies expire at the end of the year. Democrats want to negotiate extensions before they'll vote to reopen the government. As many as 22 million Americans could see their premiums spike by an average 114% without an extension of the subsidies put in place during the Biden administration. If they expire at the end of the year, what happens to your health insurance premiums?
They will double, it looks like.
Leanne Safford and her husband now pay $278 a month for their health care premiums through the Affordable Care Act marketplace. Their plight, common. According to one analysis, for an individual making $35,000 a year, the annual premium would jump by more than $1,500. A family of 4 making $75,000, their increase would be more than $3,300. For Leanne and millions of others, sticker shock is now setting in as notices come out this month outlining what next year's premiums will be.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is finding out the hard way. For years, she's called Obamacare a disaster, voted to repeal it, mocked it, and railed against it. But now, she's begging Congress to extend Obamacare subsidies because her own kids' insurance premiums are about to double. She posted a long rant on X saying she's not a fan of Obamacare, but can't let those subsidies expire. Bring it in a little closer, because it'll hurt hardworking families in her own district. Bing! Light bulb flash. I think she finally realized what the law actually does. Greene says she won't play loyalty games or toe the party line. But that party line is the same one she helped build. One that's spent years trying to destroy the very healthcare help she now wants to save. Turns out when premiums increase for her own family, suddenly, it's a real problem. She thought fighting against Obamacare was a good choice. Now, she's finding out the hard way that real people, even her own flesh and blood, are going to have to pay the price.
If you have Obamacare and you don't want it to be 75% more expensive, then you want Democrats to win this government shutdown fight. That's what's on the line. Simple as that. Republicans want to pass a resolution that will make subsidies for Obamacare disappear and in turn make it 75% more expensive for the average person. Democrats don't want that to happen. Which would you prefer?
It absolutely amazes me that some people think Republicans are trying to end all Obamacare subsidies. The higher ACA subsidies came from the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, legislation passed during the pandemic that temporarily expanded the Affordable Care Act. It delivered the biggest expansion of the ACA since it was created, raising subsidy amounts for people already eligible and removing income caps for higher income households to qualify for the first time ever. And then the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 extended those subsidies through 2025. After that, the law reverts to the original ACA subsidy levels, the way they were before the pandemic. Those changes were meant as short-term relief during the pandemic, not a permanent entitlement. So no, Republicans aren't trying to end healthcare subsidies. They're saying pandemic-era spending shouldn't quietly become permanent through a continuing resolution without debate. That's literally how legislation should work.
We've got big news on the Obamacare funding front. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a huge MAGA member of Congress, Republican from the House, Trump's biggest defender, has caved and said we need to fund the Obamacare, the ACA, the Affordable Care Act subsidies, and fund them now. This is what Democrats have been demanding. This is why the government was shut down, because Republicans wouldn't fund it, among other reasons. And for her to admit it, she said, my kids' premiums are going to double if we don't fix this. And I don't like Obamacare, she said, but I don't want the premiums to double. That's ridiculous. She's admitting what Democrats are saying is true. The premiums will double unless the Republicans fix this. She's also admitting that Democrats are, this whole shutdown, this whole issue of what Democrats are asking for is to fix the subsidies. It's not to help illegals. It's to help people like Marjorie Taylor Greene's kids. She's admitting it. This is a big deal, guys. She's a wacko. This is the one who claimed that Jews had space lasers in space that were starting forest fires. She's crazy.
Hello, Sistalk family. Welcome back to our YouTube channel. My name is Triza.
And I'm Scholar, and if you're new here, welcome to Sistalk React. And this is where we react to trending stories all over the world with thoughtful perspectives and engaging discussions. So without further ado, let's get into today's topic. We have all heard of the Obamacare Subsidies, which is almost expiring to this coming December. And as we all know, the government is facing a shutdown. And we are trying to understand what is going to happen after the Obamacare subsidies expire. What will people do? But before we dive in ahead, let's first listen to what people had to say, and then we're going to come back with
Our full commentary at the end of the video.
And if you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel,
kindly subscribe for us. We would really appreciate.
So let's get into it.
We worked on repealing and replacing Obamacare back in 2017. I still have PTSD from the experience. You remember that John McCain famously did the thumbs down, and effectively by a one-vote margin, the whole effort was defeated. It's a great frustration of mine, and has always been of President Trump's. And we know that American healthcare needs dramatic reform. Let's just state it simply. Obamacare failed the American people. It was promised to be a great success, to make healthcare more affordable. It's done exactly the opposite. And it has been pointed out by everyone that since Obamacare was created in 2010, premiums, the cost of healthcare, have risen exponentially. It's skyrocketed to the point where it's no longer affordable for so many Americans.
Hi, my name is Dr. Rubin, and I want to remind you that prior to the Affordable Care Act, it was difficult for millions of people to get health insurance based on whether they had a pre-existing condition. So as an example, if you had asthma, premiums would be really high and make it basically unaffordable for many people to afford coverage, or some insurers would just not cover you. The Affordable Care Act got rid of that and said that you have to provide coverage regardless of pre-existing conditions. Now, yes, premiums have gone up over the past several years, but when you look at out-of-pocket expenses, it was actually rising at a higher rate prior to the Affordable Care Act compared to what we are seeing right now. One of the strengths of the Affordable Care Act is the fact that they were able to provide millions of more people health insurance coverage, but it is at risk of going away for millions of people because the enhanced subsidies that were put forth, not only from the Affordable Care Act, but from the Inflation Reduction Act, those are about to expire. So when open enrollment begins very shortly, many people are going to see prices go significantly higher because those subsidies have not been renewed, which is partly why the government is shut down right now, because there is a fight to try to get those subsidies back. But in addition, if we're going to just cut these things, the Republicans still have not put out a unified proposal to replace the Affordable Care Act. They keep trying to gut it, but they don't have any plan to replace it. So how are you going to do that if you've got no plan? You're going to end up costing people a lot more in their health care, a lot of headaches for everybody if you don't have a plan put in place. So that's where the issue is that if you're going to dismantle healthcare, what are you going to do to make it better?
When you see prominent Republicans interviewed about the current government shutdown, it's apparent they want to use this as a way to try to destroy Obamacare entirely with no replacement. Now, the key thing you need to understand about this is not only will it make your health insurance skyrocket, but those people with pre-existing conditions who have spent a decade telling our health insurance companies about that because we thought we were safe, because the law of the land was that you could not be denied under Obamacare for that, will now have that information used and weaponized against us so we can never get health insurance again. Look at myself. I'm 6'3", 198 pounds, don't smoke, don't drink, 10% body fat, resting heart rate of 39. It doesn't matter. I will get completely screwed, and so will millions of other people. And the unfairness in that is extraordinary. It is inducing people to do something because of legislation and then pulling the rug out later on and then just completely screwing them so they're worse off than they were before. So this is the Republicans. They're ghoulish. They don't care. If you're not rich and you can't give them power, then you just don't matter. You're disposable.
So let's move ahead. About 4 months ago, and the big, beautiful bill passed. I got a wonderful letter from Aetna telling me, in the mail, by the way, they don't send paper, telling me they're no longer going to offer individual healthcare plans as of 2026. I was going to have to shop somewhere else. Now, why is Aetna not offering healthcare for individuals? Basically, with the subsidies expiring, the only people who are going to choose do this insurance are people who really need it. People who are older, health issues. Therefore, insurance companies are going to spend more money covering the sick people, which, although that's what insurance was created for, doesn't really look good for their profit margins. Also, the subsidies being gone, there'll be more people who are defaulting on their premiums. That causes a lot of back-end work, and that's also going to cut into their margins. They're not going to be able to pay for it. So what are they doing? They're opting out of the marketplace for individuals. They're only going to offer to large companies. Those companies are getting cheaper rates because they're insuring more people. Big corporations wins, and there's no way that my new insurance is not going to go up $1,000 for just me, for a 52-year-old person to get decent coverage for what I need. Higher deductible, co-pays, I'm probably gonna have to fight with them more when I wanna get a back brace paid for. Now here's where I turn a little less liberal. Since universal health care is definitely not on the docket, the ACA does not work for exactly the reason I just told you. If there was no reason why I started making money, I went from paying absolutely nothing, then income bracket goes 2,000 higher, and now I went from paying nothing to paying thousands. I enjoy a sliding scale. As the subsidies started to change, as I made more money, I got more money, but that does not help people in the range between poor and middle class. All of these GOP people say that we should start sit down and negotiating instead of the shutdown, but we have until December. Let's work it out. Trump has been offering us a new healthcare situation since 2017, when McCann, the last Republican with a backbone, made his historic thumbs down. So I'm unsure as to why someone can't figure out a sliding scale for health insurance. It shouldn't be Medicaid zero and then a person gets out of that threshold and is now paying $1,000. This results in a lot of tax fraud. A lot of people who are able to work are not going to choose to work, and getting better insurance would just put them in the red, which is insane in the largest income in the world. But if you refer back to my whole jobs are going to be gone because of AI TikTok from the past, you'll see it's going to get even harder. But then I'm just a potter. What do I know? I'll let you in on what my insurance premium is going to be.
You're being lied to. Hakeem Jeffrey continues to say that Republicans are choosing to shut the government down because they don't want to extend the Obamacare subsidies. However, the Obamacare subsidies has no cap, meaning anybody that makes, let's say, $50K a year, just one person qualifies for Obamacare. Obamacare is not meant for the middle class. It was meant for people that were not Medicaid qualified, but they were not making $50,000 a year. Okay, now let's take money out of the equation. What they want is to socialize healthcare for the middle class. The problem is there's more middle class people than there are wealthy people. And because the government is the middleman by taking from the wealthy and flipping the middle class health insurance bill, the provider and the insurance are going to take advantage of that, and they're going to increase the premium because they know the government has their hands in the bucket. And when government has their hands in the bucket, they spend more than they should, because since government doesn't make money, all they know how to do is spend money. Premiums are going to go up naturally.
Because you see, the Democrats are asking, the only thing they're asking for is that prices don't go up 200% or more on people who have Obamacare. That the subsidies on Obamacare don't expire. That's all they're asking for. That the House and the Senate just vote on those subsidies. It's not really that big a deal. I mean, if that's the ransom, if that's what the... there is also the Medicaid cuts in the big, beautiful bill, right, in the Village Idiots' big, beautiful bill, that are going to be catastrophic. But those aren't really, the Democrats are sort of pushing that, but they've pulled away from that, right? Because they've got a better message, a better, simpler argument that the American people can understand, which again is really simple. You know, vote on the Medicaid cuts because we don't believe vote on the Obamacare subsidies because you're a bunch of fucking liars and you're not going to vote on it later. You're just going to let them expire. We've been talking about voting on these fucking things since July, so why should we believe you now, Mike Johnson? Why should we believe you now? Senate Majority Leader John Thune, why on earth would you be telling the truth now? Why would we believe the village idiot Donald Trump, who just lies incessantly?
Why are permanently expanded Obamacare subsidies a bad idea? Let's talk about it. The most obvious point is that it's going to make our national debt climb over the next decade by billions of dollars. The higher our national debt is, leads to higher prices, inflation, a weakened economy, and essentially our kids being stuck with the bill. When the government's handing out subsidies, insurance companies know that people don't have to pay the full cost. There's no pressure to keep affordable health care, and eventually the prices just keep rising. This locks us into a system where healthcare prices literally never stop climbing. Instead of empowering the American family with more choices and cheaper options, subsidies trap us in a government-run structure that eventually pushes us towards socialized medicine. Democrats would love nothing more for the country to depend on them for the rest of their lives.
No. The Democrats are not fighting for free health care insurance for illegal immigrants. Not true. They're fighting to extend the Affordable Health Care Act subsidies that expire at the end of the year. And those are for American citizens and legal immigrants like myself who's here on a green card.
So here's the deal. During the pandemic, the government boosted health insurance subsidies under Affordable Care Act, basically helping people pay less for coverage.
But do you know those extra savings may expire very soon unless the Congress steps in? This means your monthly health care premium could skyrocket next year.
And for a lot of middle-class families, this means hundreds of dollars every month. And some people are saying, how am I supposed to afford this on top of rent, gas, and even groceries?
You should know that healthcare isn't about politics. It's personal. And you may not think about it until you get sick or until you go to buy medicine and you buy it triple. It hits hard.
So if these subsidies expire, millions might want to drop their plans completely. And this means that more people will be uninsured and hospitals will profit at extra costs. This will drive prices even higher. And it's a whole domino effect.
What next? Now the pressure is on Congress. They have to extend the subsidies or even make it even permanent. And they have to try not to make it political.
And whatever side you are on, one thing is clear. People are tired of struggling just to stay healthy. Tell us in the comments below how you feel about the Obamacare subsidies expiring on December. Tell us how it is going to impact you and your loved ones. And finally, credit goes to all the respective owners of the clips and content used in our video. Your thoughts and perspective made today's work possible.
And if you found this video helpful and you would really like to see more of this, kindly give us a thumbs up. And also, if you haven't subscribed, can you subscribe for us? We would really appreciate if you do so.
And finally,
see you in the next video.